Hello, and welcome to the Hive Mind podcast, where the collective wisdom of the travel industry helps you match travelers with the right destinations and the right hotels. I'm your host, Whitney Schindler, founder and CEO of The Hive, a platform designed to give travel advisors organized, actionable insights they can put to work right away. Each week, I sit down for focused, real-world conversations with travel advisors, hoteliers, and supplier partners who know these places inside and out. We break down how each hotel is best suited to a specific client profile, take quick deep dives into destinations, and share pro tips to help you make the most of the Hive. And here's the best part. You don't need to take notes while you listen. Go about your day, tune in, and know that every insight from these conversations is already captured and organized inside the Hive. So it's there when you actually need it. And if you aren't on the Hive yet, you can get resources from this and other episodes when you join our newsletter at thehive.travel/podcast. Today, we have a new episode of The Essentials, a deep dive all about helping you not just understand a destination, but feel it, the energy, vibe, and nuance that make it unique. Trusted destination partners share key details in these episodes that matter most and help paint an overall picture that will inspire you as you present the destination to clients. When you bring a destination to life with confidence and clarity, you build trust, you spark excitement, and you make it that much easier for your clients to say yes. Joining us today to talk about the Costa Brava region of Spain is Sam Lister, founder and CEO of Tailormade. Let's dive in. Sam, hi, how are you? It's so good to have you back on the podcast.
Yeah, hey Whitney, yeah, great to be back. Looking forward to chatting.
So last time we talked about Sevilla, which was amazing. And this time, tell us what area of Spain are we going to discuss?
Right, so Sevilla's southwest corner, we're actually going right into the opposite corner. So we're going right up to the northeast. So we're going to talk about the Costa Brava, which is about an hour and a half north of Barcelona.
Okay.
And goes right the way up to the French border.
Okay. So Costa Brava, whereas Sevilla was more of like a city that we kind of talked about what you'll see and do in the city with day trips kind of out. Costa Brava is more of a region.
Exactly, kind of like a sub-region. So it's inside the region of Catalonia, so one of the autonomous regions of Spain. And then within Catalonia, you've got different pockets, and the one that is sort of in the top northeast corner is the Costa Brava. So basically, it's almost from Barcelona up to the French border.
Okay. So I know that Spain in general is, I think it could be considered a year-round destination. I'm recommending it year-round, especially when people want to travel over spring break or such. Then I start throwing in southern Spain because it's nicer than, Paris, for example, weather-wise. But talk to me about like Costa Brava. Is this a region that you do consider year-round, or is there a time that is not as nice as other times of the year? And also, how long are travelers generally staying when they decide to visit this area?
If you focus on the Costa Brava, so it would be a more seasonal destination. When we spoke of Seville, being in southern Spain, we actually talked about the heat during summer quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that could sometimes play against Seville. In this case, it's kind of one of the fortes or the strong suits of the Costa Brava. So it would be one of those destinations that you would probably think about traveling from the second half of March through to the second half of October, and really sort of seeing that, crescendo and drop during the season. Mm-hmm. Of course, there, you can visit the area all year round, but particularly as the closer to the coast you get, the more the season is really kind of noted. So when we talk about the Costa Brava, it's not just beaches. There are some lovely hotels, some lovely destinations that are inland, right the way into the city of Girona, which is about a 45-minute drive from the coast. And the further inland you get, the more kind of all year round the destination is. And the closer to the coast you get, the more it really does kind of spread from late March to late October.
Perfect. So for travelers who are interested to visit Costa Brava, do you generally find that this is like one stop in an itinerary where it's either beach or inland? Or do you find that Costa Brava itself could be multiple stops and actually be a bigger chunk of a full trip?
Yes, it can be. So this is one of those ones where it comes down a lot to the client inquiry and the brief we get through. If it is a first-time client to Spain who's looking to kind of get a taste of Spain and perhaps move on to another country next year, I think you would just use it as a one-stop destination, as a really nice Mediterranean coastal destination. if you have that client that we all love that has perhaps been to other parts of Spain, or just sort of is happy to listen to our mantra of kind of less is more,
We love
then
those
yes,
guys.
you could. Exactly. And you can really kind of go to town on the planning and getting a bit creative and sort of a deeper dive, right? Then, yes, you can stay inland, which would be more cultural, historical, also with the option of more gastronomy. You can go right up to the French coast where you've got more influences of things like Dali, Salvador Dali, and you can sort of wind up on the coastline and just chill out in a setting that is actually very similar to Mallorca, for instance, or the Balearic Islands.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and actually the Costa Brava, you can also link it very nicely. As I said, it's under an hour and a half drive from Barcelona, which everyone knows Barcelona, and the fact that
Yeah.
it's a great hub to arrive and or depart from. But you can link it to other areas in Catalonia, in the region where Barcelona is the capital, such as if you were to go southwest out of Barcelona, you would head into the Priorat wine region for your wine buffs.
hmm
And if you were to go northwest out of Barcelona, you're actually heading into the Pyrenees for those kind of outdoors mountain lovers. And you can actually link Barcelona, Priorat wine region, Pyrenees, and the Costa Brava. And if you wanted to, you could make a 15-day trip out of it.
I was going to say that's your 2-week trip right there.
Exactly. No,
I think we could end the podcast now. That sounds beautiful. That sounds amazing. I am pretty sure that like years ago, I met someone from like Catalonia tourism. Does that sound like a tourism, like a local tourism board that would be traveling around? I think I did because I vaguely remember a map and just being flabbergasted at how much there was to see and do in this region alone. And I kind of remember having this feeling years and years ago of like, that's a whole trip. Like that's not one stop. Like that's a full 2-week trip right there, just in this one region.
Yeah, for sure. And yes, you probably would have bumped into them. They're very good actually at promoting, the diversity of Catalonia. So yeah, you probably would have bumped into them for sure.
It's coming back to me now. I think it was at like an ATTA event, like the Adventure Travel Trade Association. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into experiences, because if we are going to be considering talking to clients about even just one stop in Costa Brava or like multiple stops and like really creating a full trip around it, the client's next question is going to be, well, what are we going to do there? So you kind of mentioned wine in the Pyrenees, but that's not actually, is that considered Costa Brava what we're talking about, or that's broader Catalonia?
No. The Pyrenees, no. Wine, yes. So even the Costa Brava's sort of got a number of sub regions. There's a stretch that I particularly enjoy that goes more or less from a town called Palamós up to a town called Begur. So you'd be talking, that would be about, off the top of my head, sort of 30, 40 kilometers maybe. So let's say 20, 30 miles of coastline, including a lot of the inland medieval villages and towns that you've got there.
Okay, so I just opened a map and I'm going to make you not just say those again, but spell it, because I'm not really sure what you said. Okay, what was the first town you mentioned?
So Palamós.
Palamós,
yep,
I found
there
it.
You go. Yeah.
It's right there. Alrighty. And then up to where?
Up to, so Begur.
Okay, so this is the area that you're talking about.
Yeah, it can be a lot larger. I mean, there are a lot of other great sort of spots along the way. That particular stretch of coastline, I'm a particular fan of. Okay,
tell me why. What are we doing there?
So in terms of beach and kind of like basically aesthetics, right? When you're there, I mentioned it looks a lot like the Balearic Islands, and this is actually one of the reasons why the Costa Brava can be so great, because in the past couple of years, I guess kind of one of the big hashtags that a lot of clients and agents have come to us with is Mallorca and the Balearics, right? They're fantastic. They're absolutely gorgeous, and they're a real sort of hot destination right now. Bearing in mind that Spain and Portugal, in the grand scheme of things, they're kind of very popular right now because I think they have a very good price sort of point in the market.
Yes.
They're way below certain other European destinations, but still offering sort of quality and content.
Yes.
However, the Balearic Islands in the summer season, they are very expensive.
Yeah.
And what happens is you have to fly to them if you want to make the most of your time, and you have to fly back to then fly out. You add on the fact that you're staying in lovely hotels, so on and so forth. And even with a healthy budget, it can really get sort of drained away by including the Balearic Islands in your stay. Whereas if you literally hop in a transfer 90 minutes up the coast, you're seeing a very similar coastline. So these beautiful fishing towns with all the boats kind of dragged up on the beach, the turquoise water, the little coves, the paths around the headland. It really is very similar to the Balearics, with a great infrastructure, a really good culture, some good hotels, some great activities for a significantly lower price. So for many requests where we're wanting to kind of honor the budget, we've pitched the Costa Brava and been able to pivot, and it's become the coastal destination for these travelers, and they've loved it.
Amazing. As an agency leader, you know how much time gets wasted when every advisor is reinventing the wheel. The Hive changes that. It's your agency's expertise vault, capturing hotel notes, destination insights, and advisor experiences once and making them accessible to your entire team. That means less duplication of effort, more consistency for clients, and more time for you to focus on leading your business instead of answering the same questions over and over. Check out thehive.travel to see how it can support your team. So I think my next question, just kind of Costa Brava versus Mallorca, is the hotel product similar, or is it also you've got some of the best hotel options in Mallorca, and on Costa Brava, they're a little bit more boutique or local or 4-star? How would you compare the hotel experience in these two options?
Yeah. So I think on Mallorca, you do have the best of the best of the best, whether you're talking Four Seasons or Jumeirah or the Belmond. So, but again, that falls very much in line with if the client has a very good budget, then it fits very nicely. When you're looking at the Costa Brava, there are some lovely hotels. Should I sort of mention a few?
If you want to, sure. I mean, we're not going to dive into the nitty-gritty details of each, but yeah, what are some of the primary options?
So Hostal de la Gavina would be one, which is just below Palamos. So it's just below that sort of stretch of coastline I mentioned, probably 15-minute drive.
Okay.
The Mas Torrent is another very well-known hotel, which is about 15 minutes inland. So it's a beautiful hotel kind of located in one of these sort of medieval hamlets almost.
Tell me the name of the second one again.
Mas, so M-A-S space. So just M-A-S.
Yeah.
There you have it. Yeah.
Inland. Okay, now I see.
Yeah, so a little bit inland. So you've got one that's about 15 minutes below Palamos and one that's about 15 minutes inland from Begur. Okay. So for instance, both those hotels are 5-star. They've got great service, great facilities, but at a different price bracket to some of the kind of the big players in. I
know this is showing me November prices because that's when I'm looking it up, but by different you mean a fraction.
Yeah. No, you can really your buck can go a long way. On Costa Brava.
So on Costa Brava, in terms of experiences, is there a lot of history and culture? Are we going to be visiting archaeological ruins? Is there a lot of soft adventure? Are we hiking and mountain biking, or is it more relaxing and enjoying the views? What's the vibe of including this in this stay?
That stretch of coastline does have it all. So you've got a lot of history, for instance, in Girona city, in the medieval towns and villages. You've got Roman ruins along the coast.
I thought so.
Yeah, you've got a lot of gastronomy. It's actually a great gastronomic destination. It's renowned for Palamos prawns, anchovies from La Scala. They have a fantastic wine region there, great olive oil, famous for various sort of cured meats. I love that area for the menú del día, right? So the menu of the day, just the same as Seville's big for its kind of tapas scene. The Costa Brava is really great for going to a great restaurant and having basically a set 3-course meal, which is, normally a very reasonable price as well. As you say, you've got a lot of kind of soft adventure. You can actually kind of ramp it up a little bit. So there's a beautiful hiking trail in the Costa Brava region called the Camí de Ronda, or the Camino de Ronda, which was kind of a former pathway that the civil guard, right? So the civil guard used to use it to patrol the coastline.
See it all along the coastline here. That's cool.
Yeah.
I bet it's beautiful.
Really beautiful. So if For instance, another very popular destination is the Camino de Santiago.
Yes.
But depending on when you go, you're walking with hundreds of other pilgrims along the same kind of path. A lot of times we also sort of suggest hiking the Camino de Ronda in a Mediterranean setting with a lot of kind of coastal walking and all of the plus points that come with that. If you don't want, you're not absolutely tied to the Camino de Santiago, for instance.
Is this Camino de Ronda, is it like a multi-day situation like Camino de Santiago?
It is, yeah. So it doesn't have a spiritual destination or a calling behind it or the like, but we've actually created trips where you can literally do a day or a half day, or you can do anything up to about 7 or 8 days. So if there were sort of people who if there are people who are keen to do some walking, maybe like a morning walk, a bit of lunch and then some free time in the afternoon or a cultural activity, it's piece of cake. And it's a really, a nice combo for sure.
If you're doing 7 or 8 days, where are you staying?
So there, what you would probably do, so it wouldn't be door to door. You'd probably changing hotel maybe every 2 nights, sometimes 3.
So you're kind of like going out, like being driven to the starting point, hike, and then brought back to your hotel. And then it's not like a hut to hut or
no.
I understand.
So it wouldn't be, well, certainly we wouldn't create it as a self-guided trip. So it would be a trip with infrastructure. Sometimes we've done it for a couple of kind of special interest groups or larger families where you actually go with a guide, or if you don't want a guide with you, it's just someone who's kind of with band support. You're looking out on the Costa Brava. It's not, it's not silly money to actually have a completely sort of organized hike with all the infrastructure. It sounds amazing. It. It's beautiful.
And it sounds like you've created this. This isn't something that exists. Like, it sounds like you've kind of set up the planning, not the hike, but I just mean like the infrastructure to support. Like nobody's just showing up in this area and hailing drivers back and forth.
I think I'd be blowing our trumpet if I said we created it. I mean, it's okay
if you say, if you're honest. Sounds like you've elevated it at least.
We certainly, because actually, I go up to the Costa Brava quite a lot, and I'm a keen walker, so I've hiked these different stages, and there are, they are stages, right? You can essentially set your own stage. But if you would sort of log on, and particularly written in Spanish and Catalan, you would find different blogs about the Camino de Ronda, like how far it is, like which different stages where you could go to, where you could visit. In our case, yes, we've just sort of created some different combinations. Bearing in mind, I guess, the traveler profile that we have, whereby hiking distance per day, if you were trying to sort of start, let's say, in the south and finish right up in Figueras, where you've got the Dali Museum, which is kind of a cool way to finish, you would be able to stay in nice 3-star and comfortable 4-star accommodations along the way. You wouldn't be able to do 5-star all the way normally. But it's a super, it's a really cool experience.
And I imagine if a client just says, we just want like 1 day, 5 or 6 hours, a moderately strenuous hike, then you can also just say, well, this is the best part to go do. And we can just arrange that.
And we do it a lot. And there are stretches that are good for keen hikers. There are stretches that are good for families with kids. You can take snorkeling equipment. So if you just wanted to walk a few miles and then finish in a little cove and put on your snorkeling gear, and then once you've toweled off, kind of head around the corner to a seafood restaurant in one of the fishing towns, like absolutely fine as well.
Amazing. I imagine getting out on a boat is of interest in this area.
For sure, yeah. Lots of sailing, some good boat charters. Again, if you were to compare it to what I guess you could say is sort of the cutting edge, which would be somewhere like Mallorca or Ibiza, you've still got some lovely sailing vessels. You've got some decent boats that you don't get many boats going into sort of the super yacht category, but still, like for a couple or a family or a group of friends wanting to head out and enjoy the coastline for a half day or a day, really very, very popular. And then in terms of sort of amping things up as well, like we mentioned about activities, like yes, you can kayak, you can do coast steering, you can do cliff jumping, so lots of biking as well. Literally from the coastline in quite a few miles, you've got this incredible sort of cat's cradle of dirt tracks. So they're very well prepared. So for people wanting to e-bike or to bike between the different medieval villages, lots of different options there as well.
Is this more like mountain biking or is it like road biking? like on a highway?
Somewhere in between. So I would
Okay.
like, if you're a keen biker, it would be a more like gravel biking.
Okay.
And then it's also very popular for e-biking as well. So normally with slightly wider tires. If people do want to get into the more serious level of biking, like that is very accessible as well. But you might want to sort of transfer away from the coast a little bit. Again, it goes a little bit with the seasons. If you're anywhere
Sure.
near the summer season, then you're getting more traffic, more
Yep.
beachgoers. But you can head inland. Girona, if I'm not mistaken, that was Lance Armstrong's stomping ground for quite a few years. So there are a lot of cyclists who live in the area who are pretty serious as well.
Oh, very nice. I did not know
Mm.
that. That's these interesting little tidbits. Are you a travel advisor who's toured 3 or more hotels in one destination? Come share your insights on the podcast. Visit thehive.travel/podcast to fill out the interest form. Okay, so I think the only kind of client profile that I'm thinking of that maybe we haven't mentioned yet is anyone who's not so adventurous. So like, yes, food, maybe more history and culture, but like is there anything related to like artisans or like hands-on kind of creative experiences? There might not be. The answer might be no,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that that's the only, if you're adventurous and if you're looking to like be active, it sounds like this is heaven. If you're
Yeah.
like, I'm not really going to hike or bike or kayak, is there something for a different client profile, or would we suggest just a different area of Spain?
Well, I think first of all, like one of its real strong points is the relaxing element. So in any of these hotels and in the destination, like we would always recommend at least a day at leisure, if not more.
Right.
If you like the beach, the beach. If you want to be by the pool, if you want to use the spa, it's a great destination to kind of potter around, as I would say. So literally just without a set plan, sort of visit some of these medieval towns and villages, which they have some absolutely fantastic local shops with local producers,
Cool.
ranging from clothing, jewelry, gift shops, famous for ceramics as well. So,
Okay.
for instance, there's a town which is very famous for its kind of pottery and ceramics.
Cool.
And again, gastronomy, like loads of gastronomy. So, whilst I wouldn't say it's super densely packed with artisans and craftsmen, it does have plenty of
But
stuff to see and
definitely
do.
like a day or two's worth of just bopping around to little shops and little villages and exploring.
Yeah.
In that case, with like when you have all these little villages that you don't necessarily need a guide, but you do want to visit all of them, do you have clients who have rental cars, or do most kind of more have like a driver at disposal because driving and parking is a nightmare? Like what's that situation like?
In a perfect world, we would try to separate the two things. So I think it's a lovely place. If people are completely happy to explore on their own, we can send some recommendations and some great spots to visit, and they can head off and they will have a really enjoyable day. When you've got a hire car and you try and give the day structure with visits and different appointments at certain times and where to meet and so on, a lot of times that just ends up pear-shaped, just because people get a bit lost, or they're not on time, or they get flustered.
They find
with
a
driving
shop that they
directions.
like.
Exactly. So in that respect, if the day has structure, we would definitely recommend going with a driver or a driver guide.
Mhm.
If the day is completely relax and explore on your own, then absolutely you can use a hire car.
Okay. Amazing. Before we come to you and say, our clients want to go to Costa Brava, what should we be talking to clients about, or like questions that we could ask to just kind of dig in a little bit to be able to then come to you and provide some nuance and context that would be supportive to like put together the most interesting proposal?
Yeah. I think to work out if the Costa Brava would be a good fit for them, one thing would be to ask people how much they want to travel during their trip, so that the pace and tempo that they want to enjoy, because the Costa Brava being so easy to access from Barcelona, it's very different than flying out to the Balearics or going all the way down to, say, Andalusia or sort of Marbella or so on. As we mentioned, like price point, like if they are looking for sort of very good value for money for a coastal escape, that would be a very good question to ask as well. As I say, if you are pivoting from the Balearics, if the Balearics are an absolute must, and are people aware of just how different the pricing would be if you include the Balearics, then I guess another sort of strong point of the Costa Brava is that it's not one of those super international destinations. For instance, a lot of national or even regional, so a lot of people from Barcelona head up there, and a lot of people will actually summer there from countries and other places that are drivable. So you'll get
Mm,
a lot of French coming across the border, a few other Europeans that are driving from sort of caravan to stay on certain stretches of the coastline. So it's not one of those kind of big package,
right.
tour operator flight and charter flight destinations where you're going to get thousands and thousands of different nationalities there.
That sounds like heaven for some clients, and some clients would come home and complain. So I
Mm,
think that that is
yeah,
a really good context to have of like who else is there and what they'll encounter.
yeah,
And I imagine that English might be slightly less spoken everywhere when you have an area where you don't have like gigantic tours and cruises coming in all the time.
yeah. It's got a nice balance. So compared to some other destinations that are a bit more remote, the Costa Brava, it's an affluent area.
Mm.
It's considered an affluent area. And being close to Barcelona, I do think it kind of soaks up quite a bit of that. How do you say? Not cosmopolitan would be the word, but that open or worldly kind of vibe. So yeah, I'd say you're still pretty sort of the infrastructure there is good, basically. So I don't think it would be. It's not a high risk destination. We're thinking, oh god, is the service going to be good enough? Are the clients going to be disappointed with kind of the level of attention? Like, no, I think it's quite strong in that respect.
Okay, so I think we've kind of touched on everything, but I guess just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, when we think about, I always like little details to share with clients in terms of like, go to Costa Brava and make sure you try this. Or if you're interested in buying X, like this is, you can find it in Costa Brava. So when we think about those little finer touches that might come into a conversation with the client, actually not probably at the beginning, but more closer to like when they're going to travel, what are some of the things that we are going to be eating and shopping for and like that we might like definitely want to make sure that we don't miss when we visit Costa Brava?
Yeah, I think certainly, as I said, the prawns from Palamos would be a big hit. Another lovely thing to do. So if you're looking for sort of an inside piece of info, like Palamos Port, it's a very big fishing port, and they have the fish market nearly every day, except for
Oh,
Sundays and
nice.
Mondays. And you can actually go in and watch that. The as they how to say in English, like the wholesale fish market, right, where actually people are going in to buy for restaurants, for fishmongers, and you can
Cool.
actually watch that take place, which is really, really cool. The anchovies, in terms of taking something away, olive oil, more and more now they're selling olive oil in these, metal cans rather than
Hmm.
the glass jars, which very
Hmm.
easily break in suitcases. And then, yeah, in terms of sort of small crafts and so on, the ceramics from La Bisbal. But
Hmm.
otherwise, I mean, I would sort of focus on these little kind of independent, locally owned shops that are located in some of the medieval villages, like Pals, like where you, as I say, you can just potter around and pop in some of these shops, and you come away with some really lovely, whether it might be some sort of local espadrille shoes or
Hmm.
particular clothing garments. There's quite a lot there.
Amazing. So I guess I just realized now that I'm looking at a map again, you gave us like that little stretch of coast that's your favorite. It seems like that's definitely where clients would be staying if they only visited like one specific area in Costa Brava. If they did explore further afield, would they still be staying in that area and just doing a day trip, or would there be a consideration to actually stay in an entirely different hotel?
So an area that I haven't really touched on as much would be up by Cadaqués, right? So Cadaqués is right up very close to the French border,
Hmm. Yep.
at about the same kind of latitude as Figueras. That's another lovely town. It is bigger. It's a little bit busier in summer.
Okay.
Um, let's have a look here.
Up
Yeah,
here.
so you can see it's got a whole peninsula there.
Yeah. I've heard of
So
this now that you say it.
so as a second destination, it's really beautiful, and you can see where it's located. If you were actually particularly round to the north up there, so round that headland and up, you've got some really great hiking. You've got some very kind of, I wouldn't quite call it wild because it's Mediterranean, but some more sort of sparse coastline, which is really
Okay.
beautiful. And then close
Amazing.
to Cadaqués, you can see there it's highlighted the Dali Museum, which is just inland. You've got a fantastic monastery just inland, San Pedro. Yeah, so
Okay.
that would be sort of definitely like option number two. I think
Okay.
anywhere closer than one of the hotels I mentioned, the hostel, I wouldn't recommend necessarily staying much closer to Barcelona. As you get
amazing. This is also, so like, how often do you have clients doing 2 stops in Costa Brava, or do you generally find more often it's choosing Cadaqués compared to the other area you were sharing?
the latter. Yeah, I think in terms of trips, we might get 1 in every 5 or 6 clients looking to spend more nights. As often happens in what we do, we're often trying to get people to slow down rather than having more nights to share with them. So we're often actually just trying to convince them to perhaps stay 4 nights instead of 3, let alone being able to add in a second destination. But occasionally, those wonderful opportunities come along.
Well, every once in a while. I was just speaking with clients this week, and I convinced them to stay 7 nights. It was 6 or 7 nights in Rome. Like the full spring break was just in Rome. Like no day trips, no Tuscany, just Rome. And this was earlier this year. So I had a call with them this week for next year. And they were like, we just loved it so much. It was the perfect trip. We tell everyone they should go to Rome and stay a full week. And I was like, I know how amazing it is. But I was like, the truth is that you're the first clients who let me talk them into doing that. And they couldn't believe it because they enjoyed it so much. And I was like, yeah, we talk about staying longer frequently, but very few clients actually like lean into this idea of just staying put.
I can imagine it's tough. Like there's so much to see and do, and all of our bucket lists just grow, right? So if you kind of stay in one place, you feel like you're missing out.
You feel like you're so close and you didn't see that thing. And yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Sam, I am thrilled to have had the opportunity to dive into Costa Brava. And with so many clients already visiting Barcelona, this just seems like, a natural suggestion to share with them. I really appreciate the insight of knowing that, like, if you're looking for Mallorca, but if that's just not going to work, like investment wise, but you want a similar experience, that this could be a fabulous alternative. I'm really excited to start talking with clients more about Costa Brava thanks to you. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure to chat again.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing what you're going to share with us next.
Thanks very much, Whitney.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Hive Mind podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And if you know a friend or colleague who would enjoy this, please share it with them. If you would like insights from this episode landing in your inbox each week, join our newsletter at thehive.travel/podcast. And remember, if you'd like to contribute to a future episode, whether it's sharing your destination expertise or your experience touring hotels, just head to thehive.travel/podcast to learn more and express your interest. We'd love to have you join the conversation. Until next time.